Hello. Hi, how are you? Happy Wednesday. I wanted to come on live here because I received a question in my DM on LinkedIn, and I thought it was such a great question. And I've spoken to this topic many times inside of executive ahead of time, working with corporate women to get them promoted into higher level leadership positions. And I thought, you know what, this is really good and juicy. And so I want to get it out to the masses. So definitely say hi if you're watching me live. If you're listening to the replay, put in replay and still say hi. Let me know what your questions are, and I'm happy to come on here live and answer them as well. Who am I before I get going? My name is Stacy Mayer. I am an executive coach and promotion strategist. So essentially, what that means is I help women figure out what it's going to take to get promoted into higher level executive positions. I'm the author of Promotions Made Easy, a step by step guide to the executive suite. And I am also the founder of Executive Ahead of Time, the premier training program that gives corporate badasses just like you the tools to not only get promoted into those higher level executive positions, but to have success once you get there. So definitely say hi. And if you're one of my fabulous corporate badasses, also say hi and let everybody know how valuable all of this work has been for you. So, the reason why I get this question a lot, I first want to share that is because when depending on where you're at right now in your stage of your career, you might be like just kind of struggling to do your job. You might be overwhelmed, you might be stressed, you might be getting passed over for promotions. All of that is okay, and the process that I teach not only pulls you out of the weeds, but it sets you up so that other people can start to see you as that executive leader, that person who gets paid for their ideas and not just the hours that they put in at work. And the reason why I set that up is because it's really going to help me answer the question that I have today, which is how to be a panelist on a subject that you don't have firsthand knowledge about. So, this is going to be really good, and it's going to give you clues to both sides, why you're not getting promoted or the recognition that you deserve, and also how to be a panelist in an area, subject matter area where you know nothing about. Right. So I'm going to share both of those answers with you. Um, but first of all, so let's see, what was I was talking about wherever you are in this stage, right? You might be a person that's just trying to do good at your job and succeed at the current role that you have. Well, once you start to find yourself either one, getting into those higher level leadership positions where you feel what I would call like more settled, you feel like you're able to exhibit your authentic power, you feel like you're able to both be powerful, make bold decisions, and be yourself. And oftentimes this can happen at many different stages. It can happen as a senior vice president for sure, but it can also happen as a director or a senior manager. It doesn't matter where you're at in the stage in the process. You can start to experience this freedom where you no longer feel like you have to prove yourself, but you're just included, right? You're being welcomed into the conversation, and you're being given opportunities as a result of that, right? Which is amazing, right? So, what happens when we finally get our quote unquote house in order is we start to look at what else? What other types of impact do I want to be making in the world, right? What is my thought leadership? What do I really care about? What do I stand for? And when that starts to happen, right? So, for the corporate badasses in my community, it is so beautiful to witness, right? They come into executive ahead of time like, I don't know, like I'm just trying to kind of get through the day and get recognition and not get passed over for promotion. And then they are able to figure that out. And then they get to the other side and they're like, I want to be on panels. I want to give talks. I want to mentor women. I want to start a podcast, right? These are all actual things that the women inside of Executive Ahead of Time in my advanced leadership table program are doing on the regular, right? And it's such an amazing way to really not only give back to the world and to really step into the leader that you truly want to be, but it also makes you a better leader, a better executive leader. I was asked this question, how to be on a panel that you have no specific firsthand knowledge about. And the first thing that I want to point out here is that whenever we're asked to do something, so this could be on a panel, apply for this job, the first question out of your mouth, I want it to be why. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Whenever you're asked to do anything like be on this panel or apply for this job, I want you to ask the person who is asking you the word why. Okay, because you have a ton of assumptions and you think that you're seen in a certain way, and you think that the reason that they asked you is because of all of these things, and that could be not it at all. Right. So, in the case of being on a panel, it would be important for her to actually say, why did you ask me? Right? Because in her mind, she doesn't have firsthand knowledge of the subject matter expertise. But in their mind, they didn't even want her for that. They wanted her for all of these other things that she brings to the table. Right. So we first need information. The first thing you're going to ask is why. And then, sort of, the bonus tip that I just gave you, if you didn't notice, is that if you're asked to apply for a job, also ask why. Because if somebody's recommending you to apply for a certain position or a job, you want to know what they see in you and what you need to exhibit at the interviews. So that's bonus tip over here. All right. So back to the subject at hand. So she's going to ask why. Why did they ask her? And even if she thinks she knows, right? Even if she's making assumptions, she needs to say why. Right. And this doesn't make you look stupid, right? You could say, I have some ideas of why, but I want to hear from you, right? What do you think I need to showcase in this panel? And thank you so much, by the way, you know? So that's the first thing. So she's going to get information, right? And if that information is like, well, I want you to speak to these 10 areas, and then she's like, literally, I know nothing about these 10 areas, then she's going to need to be transparent and honest and actually tell them, like, look, I can't speak to those things. But even if you're going to say, I can't speak to those things, I would like to offer that you say what you can speak to. Now, here's the golden nugget about all of the work that I do. So, if you are going to start to transition into higher level executive positions, right? And like I said, you can already be a senior vice president and be kind of bumping up against this idea that you're known as the subject matter expert and not the executive leader. You still feel like you get paid for your deliverables, for the hours that you put in at work, but not for your ideas, right? And you really crave that voice at the table. You really want to be included in the conversation. Okay. And so the same thing is happening for her. So clearly she identifies as a subject matter expert of something. And then this panel is a subject matter expert of something else. And so she's like, I'm not qualified to talk about that something else. I'm qualified to talk about these things, right? So that's all still in the world of subject matter expertise. Now, when we get into real thought leadership and really being able to understand and communicate and be on panels, no matter what the subject matter expertise is, and the same thing goes for your job. When you're able to transition into higher level executive positions over departments where you know nothing about the work that they do, right? A manager of software engineers doesn't have to know the actual engineering that is happening, especially at those higher level executive positions. Maybe at senior manager or director level, but get up into SVP and you cannot do your job if you're constantly in the weeds, right? And you can learn all of that. I have no problem with having executives who have lots of information in their brain, but you also really have to understand that you can't be in the weeds with them. So same goes for this panel discussion. Like, how much freedom is that if you are going to show up as a leader at this panel discussion and talk about the expertise that you have in leadership? So the first thing that you need to understand is, what is your unique point of view of leadership, right? How do you see the world? What are some of the things that you care about? What are your core values, right? What's happening at your organization from a leadership perspective, right? Not the area of expertise. So now let's go back to this panel, and I can imagine, let's say there's 5 women on this panel, and the woman who wrote this, she has this specific point of view of life, right? She has a very specific point of view of her career up until this point, things that matter to her, problems that she solved, decisions that she's made, and that are all irregardless of being in the weeds and being the subject matter expert in that particular area. There's always something, a particular point of view, something that we care about. I'm going to give you an example from my own life. My mission is to bring more diversity to the leadership table, right? So my expertise is that I coach corporate women to get promoted, right? Like I can tell you a step-by-step process. If I get asked to be on a panel, I could talk all day long about how to get promoted, right? Like literally like every little weedsy detail about getting promoted, right? I can do that all day long, right? This is like, I know this inside and out. So bring me on a panel, we'll talk about getting you promoted, right? But what's going to be more interesting to the audience and what's actually going to be more freeing and fun for me is coming from this point of view of how do we bring more diversity to the leadership table? What is really happening for women that gets them stuck in these lower level positions and doesn't allow them to transition into the higher ones, right? What is the real challenge here? What are we facing? Like, what's the industry like? What are the statistics? Are we moving the needle, right? What do I care about? And then I can talk about my specific practices like 15-minute ally meetings, which is a specific step-by-step process that I teach an executive ahead of time that actually gets you into those higher level positions. But really, even that is about the why, the mission, what it is that we're doing. So all of this is to say to my friend who wrote this, and I'm going to share with her the interview here, is all of this is to say, first of all, ask them why they asked you. I encourage you to say yes to the panel, even if you're a little bit nervous about it, because the only way we can really understand what we stand for is to practice. And it's like even better to practice in front of people. Stay true to what you do know, stay in your lane, right? But not what you know as a subject matter expert, but what you know about the industry, about the world, about your life experience, about leadership, about challenges that women are facing in the workplace, right? Anything, like whatever it is. And that'll help you by saying yes to this panel. It's going to help you define that, right? And trust that if they asked you to be on this panel, they actually want you on this panel, right? And they know what it is that you do, hopefully. So those are my suggestions. I would love to hear from you listeners. If you have any other suggestions or ideas or questions for me, I'm happy to hop on here live and give you more and more advice all day, every day. And if you're listening to this and you're like, Stacy, I want more. I want to become a thought leader. I want to be on panels, right? I want to get over this stuck hump that I'm feeling of just doing my job day in and day out. I want to be giving back to my community, eventually be on a board, whatever that might be. Then I want to invite you to join Executive Ahead of Time. This is my group coaching program. And here's the deal, guys. I give you my step-by-step process to get promoted into the executive suite or whatever position that you want to get promoted into. And that's all in core training modules, but every single week we're going to have coaching with me, and I'm going to be answering your questions directly, so that then if you liked this, you can come back and we can go back and forth and really brainstorm what it is that's going to take to not only get you promoted, but so that you have success once you get into those higher level positions. So that's executiveaheadoftime.com. It is a lifetime program, meaning that once you join, like the sooner that you join, you get access to the program and weekly coaching from me for life. We have an unbelievable group of corporate badasses that are inside of this group. Again, like I said, if you're one of them, say hi so that everybody can see how amazing you are. We're learning from them. We're learning from me. We're learning from this process that has been proven over and over and over again. So enrollment is open. Go to executiveaheadoftime.com. Join us. I'll see you on the call Wednesdays. And otherwise, I just hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Take care. Bye.